This is CBC Vancouver News.
"19 high school jobs are open."
As students head back to class, BC braces for a teacher shortage.
The school districts are the employers.
So who's responsible?
Province-wide, bears are in trouble.
Many more black bears are getting closer to people in Prince George.
We're in their territory as much as they're in ours.
What's behind the closer encounters?
I think it's a shared experience because we joke a lot about it being we're like trauma bonded.
And what is a big-time stage? We sit down with some local Jeopardy contestants as they try pub trivia. Good evening, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. Students across our province are heading back to school this week, but many will not have regular instructors as the province faces a teacher shortage. Janella Hamilton is looking at the scale of the problem and who's responsible.
It's an issue in many districts across BC.
19 high school jobs are open. I have, I believe, 6 K1 classrooms that without a permanent teacher at this point.
That's in Prince George, a district Beauregard says has dozens of uncertified teachers on call.
I could tell you that, roughly speaking, the North does the worst at recruitment and retention, and our geography is a big factor in that, and cost of living isn't exactly cheap up here anymore either.
The shortage is hurting bigger districts too, like the largest in the province, Surrey, where schools are doing whatever they can to fill the gaps.
If they're not able to get somebody off of the spare board, a teacher on call, then they have to pull internally. So the first places that they pull from are learner support teachers, are librarians, music teachers. And so what happens to those kids that require the additional supports? They no longer get the supports.
The province has added more than 250 teacher training seats in universities and is considering recognizing internationally trained teachers to help alleviate the labor shortage. But the BC Teachers Federation says the issue is a lot bigger.
The view of teaching as a profession, I would suggest, has gone down over years. The compensation, the pay for teachers in terms of cost of living, so in terms of comparing to what your actual cost of living is, has not kept up in almost all jurisdictions at all. And the demands of the job, there is more and more and more being asked to be done with less and less and less resources.
It's tough to know how bad the shortage is overall, so Johnston is calling on the province to release the numbers, just like Quebec did. But the province is pushing back.
The school districts are the employers. They know they are the ones making decisions about the staffing and the resources in a school district and in a particular school. So it is the school districts who would have these numbers.
Some districts do track, but not all.
We got to make sure that staying in British Columbia and joining our public school system here is an attractive situation for recent graduates or people moving to this province. We can't afford to lose any more teachers. And I think if the province isn't collecting that data, for the whole province, they're missing that point and they're not seeing where the trends are.
The concern is without the overall numbers, moving forward and finding a solution will be a challenge, one that may not be solved for years to come. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Thousands of students in the central Okanagan School District are also back in class after a summer dominated by wildfires. While all of that district's schools opened their doors today, 6 are still on alert because of the ongoing fire risk, something officials say is impacting students.
We will have, of course, some students who have been impacted by the wildfire and they'll have experienced trauma on evacuation orders, etc. And we have some extra support at some of those schools where we know the communities have been most impacted, particularly where there's been, homes lost. In particular, for those schools still on alert, they have their plans in place. They'll review them with staff. We'll have buses nearby and available to pick up students and then transport them to our muster point.
Still with wildfires, evacuation orders in BC's Shuswap region are lifting as the wildfire situation calms there. The regional district says orders tied to the Bush Creek East wildfire will drop to alerts tomorrow, making way for evacuees to return home later this week. In the Okanagan, the McDougall Creek wildfire remains out of control, and alerts are still in place in West Kelowna and West Bank First Nation. But evacuation alerts have been pulled down for properties in Lake Country and the city of Kelowna. 430 fires are still burning across our province, but wildfire crews are about to lose some employees as staff members return to school.
And so we have seen a bit of a decrease in BC Wildfire Service personnel, as well as some contract crews, just given the typical age for folks that are on the fire line.
She says the service is still supported by more than 500 out-of-province personnel. The province is putting $3 million toward the YMCA's Y, Mind, and Mind Medicine program. It helps teens in 30 communities across our province.
We have global instability, we have an affordability crisis. People are dealing with a lot right now. And of course, kids are experiencing all of that as well.
The free 7-week program teaches youth ways to manage stress and anxiety. Sessions are led by trained mental health professionals. If you're interested, you can contact YMCA BC to register, and you do not need a referral. It's been a while since home prices in our region have been, to say the least, affordable. But a new record has been set in the Greater Vancouver area for the selling price of detached houses. Our Justin McElroy is here with the numbers. How high is it this time, Justin?
Dan, it's, we've long since passed $1 million for the average selling price in the Greater Vancouver region, which includes areas outside of Vancouver. We've long passed $2 million, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. And today, if you take a look at this chart, we got to $2.4 million for the average selling price last month for a detached home in the region, as much as $4 million on the entire west side of the city of Vancouver, if you believe it. If we zoom in on this chart, you can take a look for the average detached home, now $2.4 million, and you see that big spike up in the last 6 months. Townhomes, $1.2 million. Condos, a cool $805,000. Those two are up less than detached homes, but overall certainly not affordable by any reasonable scale of the imagination. And of course, some people might be saying, well, we've had interest rate hikes over the last year and a half, going from 0 to 5%. Shouldn't have that made a difference in terms of the selling prices? But according to people we spoke to today, it did change certain things in the market, but only in terms of the type of people that could afford to buy.
The amount of buyers, the amount of qualified buyers is very limited at the moment with these restrictive interest rates. Who you're seeing that's still active in the buying pool, it's largely end users. It's couples that have previously owned real estate and they're now selling and upsizing or selling and downsizing. And so what we're seeing is that they're taking out a lot of equity from those sales and putting it towards the new home.
So less activity on the lower end of the market, still a fair bit on the higher end. And so you have that average going up to now, again, $2.4 million.
Justin, that's what's happening in Greater Vancouver for detached homes. But what is the full picture of the market?
Yeah, and it's interesting because it is so difficult to get in with how high prices are everywhere. We're not seeing that same explosion in prices outside of detached homes for those places that one might think would be affordable, simply because there's so little demand on the market at those higher rates already. Take a look at this chart. It shows not only Greater Vancouver, but Greater Victoria and the Fraser Valley over the last year of increases in prices, and not just for detached homes, but for condos and townhomes as well. And as you can see, when it comes to Greater Vancouver homes, it's increased by 18% in the last year for the average price. But everywhere else, it's much lower. Some places, even Greater Vancouver condos, Fraser Valley town homes, were under the inflation rate over the last year, and the average price for Greater Victoria townhomes actually down 0.7% in last year. Now, is that actually affordable? Well, for lots of people, no, not if you don't have $200,000, $300,000 available there for a down payment. However, it shows that the market is not equal in all places, but certainly you look at how rent has gone up in the last year, you look at the highest end of the market, it is a very tough place, as always, to afford living in this region. Dan?
Justin McElroy, thanks very much. Summer's End is bringing a renewed push to limit work from home. Apple, Amazon, Google, and other large firms here in BC are now requiring employees to show up at the office for at least part of the week. But as Nisha Patel shows us, some workers are pushing back. or finding new jobs.
This Vancouver office looks like a ghost town. The boss says it's time for that to change.
We're missing the ability for people to connect, to solve problems faster, to run into each other.
Starting next week, he's implementing Together Tuesdays, one day when all staff must be in the office.
Being together at some point over some period of time is valuable and important to an organization.
The pandemic forced a lot of workers to clock in from home, but more than 3 years later, many are still avoiding the office. Now some companies are taking a stricter tone, saying showing up in person is mandatory.
You have to be on site. You have to be on site. We need you on site.
With a young son in school, Shama Kumar found going into the office 5 days a week too stressful. So she quit and found a new job offering hybrid work.
When I realized that this company doesn't really meet my needs, my family needs, I had to make the change.
Although the job market is a little cooler these days, experts say workers have options and will exercise that power.
Once employees have had an opportunity for work from home, they're going to continue to expect to be allowed to do that in the future.
Still, businesses from JP Morgan to Meta are ordering staff back to their desks. Even Zoom, the video call company that's the face of remote work, is moving to a hybrid model. Amazon workers are protesting similar mandates, but the tech giant is upping the stakes, hinting that those who don't show up may find themselves out of a job.
The issue is that's not a good way to manage your employees, because your best people could be the ones who leave.
Amanda Nilsson left an employer that wanted her to return in person. She says she's more productive at home, and it allows her time to exercise, travel, and take on new hobbies.
The quality of my life had improved so much over the last 3 years of remote work that I wasn't ready to give that up.
So companies pushing for workers to come into the office should prepare for workers to push back.
Shoulder shrug.
Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Prince George is facing a wildlife dilemma. More black bears are getting closer to more people. The RCMP has even asked residents to stop calling in bear sightings. Lindsay Duncombe explains what seems to be causing these closer encounters.
This sanctuary for orphaned bear cubs is expecting a busy year.
It's going to get really bad. The need will be humongous.
Cubs here have been abandoned by their mothers, attacked by dogs, even caught in wildfire. This female is recovering from burned paws.
So whether it's a fire or the drought that's driving them out doesn't really make any difference. But for us, it means that province-wide, bears are in trouble.
There's 3 of them. They're climbing the tree.
Biologists don't know exactly what's happening to northern BC's black bear population, but in Prince George, many are coming closer to humans. It could be because their habitat has burned or because drought has dried up their food sources.
We're in kind of an unprecedented time here, and we're we're just run off our feet essentially.
RCMP have told people to stop calling unless a bear is being aggressive.
If people are in danger, then we'll respond rapidly. But other than that, we just kind of have to let these animals live their lives. We're in their territory as much as they're in ours.
In August, conservation officers put down 36 bears for safety reasons. Compare that to last year, when no bears were killed.
Anytime that people are interacting with bears, it just increases the possibility or the percentage of bears who may end up getting killed because of those interactions. They're distinctive. They have distinctive
Advocates say protect the bears by getting rid of any food. Pick fruit trees, clean up garbage. There are still weeks until hibernation. Close encounters are expected to continue. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
A First Nations community in BC is reclaiming the land where a residential school once sat. St. Joseph's Mission Residential School operated for 90 years before it was shut down in 1981. The Williams Lake First Nation is buying it from the BC government. The nation says the site would be permanently protected for historical and investigative reasons, and they will work with former students, families, and communities on a long-term vision and plan to commemorate and protect that site. And organizers of this year's fair at the PNE say it was a better one, numbers-wise. The fair wrapped up yesterday. Organizers say it drew more than 626,000 guests. That's up by 100,000 people from last year. This year's numbers are the highest since the start of the pandemic, but they fall short pre-COVID. In 2019, more than 730,000 guests attended the fair, and the year before that, 705,000 people passed through the gates.
It's crazy to say that I was on Jeopardy. Yeah. But like, do I still think about it every day? And yes, I do.
What makes a successful Jeopardy contestant? Our Justin McElroy caught up with 3 local trivia experts who made it onto the popular game show. That's coming up. Stay with us. And welcome to our commercial-free live stream tonight. Thousands of people who were forced from their homes around Kelowna have been returning over the past week. Some are finding devastation, others relief that their houses are still standing. As Tom Popick shows us, one community showed its gratitude to the first responders with a video.
Family after family in Kelowna's Wilder neighborhood.
And we couldn't be more grateful for all your dedication.
Thanking firefighters for their service in this social media video.
Heroes! 7 of the longest days of my life.
Chrissy Zach collected the messages and doorbell camera video of the wildfire emergency. The residents just north of Kelowna watched this week-long response unfold in real time. From police knocking on doors and forcing evacuation to firefighters staging on the streets, the developments were posted on group chats. Residents shared the stress.
That is the fire coming down the hill.
And support.
You know, at first, a lot of what we were seeing was very scary. Firefighters just working hard, fighting literal fires in our yard. And then as things started to lighten a bit and they would do checks through our yard and they would wave at us through our door cams and they knew that we were watching them. And it makes me emotional even to think about now because it gave us hope.
189 structures were lost in this disaster. Wilden on the east side of Okanagan Lake was spared. Even in hardest-hit West Kelowna, there are signs the community is returning to normal. The McDougall Creek fire is still burning out of control, but in western wilderness, only 505 properties remain under evacuation order. The Evacuation Registration Center has been replaced by a new resiliency office set up to help residents navigate the recovery and rebuilding process. But mental health workers warn trauma can linger for years.
Wherever you are in the world, when there is a major incident like this, that you need to be mindful of how you're doing, not just in the moment, but going forward. And I mean, we're going to be around if more support's needed.
As the region moves into recovery, more and more sign of thanks and support are popping up. Some selling Kelowna Strong stickers to help those who lost homes. Others, like Chrissy and her neighbors, now fundraising for firefighter charities.
People had the same reaction we all do, which is tears and just gratitude.
The hope to turn trauma into thanks.
Thank you. You saved our house. You saved our house. Thank you, firefighter.
Tom Popick, CBC News, Kelowna.
Every year, about 100,000 people try to become contestants on Jeopardy! Only a few hundred actually succeed. But in the last 18 months, 3 have been from Metro Vancouver. And it gave someone here an idea. Who is Justin McElroy?
It's Wednesday night in an Irish pub on the edge of downtown Vancouver. Dozens of people are coming through these doors to play pub trivia, but 3 of them aren't your typical contestants.
A musician and educator from North Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, Caitlin Payne.
A
Communications Manager from New Westminster, British Columbia, Canada, Chelsea Watt. A graphic designer from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, Tessa Matsuzaki.
And a municipal affairs reporter from Vancouver, me. With 3 recent Jeopardy contestants by my side, I would surely eclipse my greatest trivia triumph of finishing in 3rd place in the 2005 Provincial Reach for the Top Championships.
American president studied that.
Caitlin.
Who is Maggie Smith?
That's right.
Turns out, when you're a Canadian about to go on arguably the most famous U.S. quiz show, the approach is pretty similar.
There are things that come up on Jeopardy that are just not my thing. I'm bad at fine art. I am not good at college sports. So I'm like, those are a lost cause. We're done. We can't do those. Yes. But I'm like, I can get better at the presidents. I can get better at the state capitals.
For question 1, Alert Bay, BC is home to the world's tallest one, which is...
But it's not just about what you know. It's about how fast you can buzz in.
So, did you try and do any, buzzer testing at home beforehand?
I sometimes played with it. Yeah, I should have.
They always say that's the secret.
It's the buzzer for sure. It's so hard.
They tell you to use a clicky pen.
And even if you master the buzzer,
So you're going to add to that just 2,000.
you still have to master the wagering as well.
My daughter constantly to this day keeps going, but Mom, technically you won because you're the only one who got Final Jeopardy right. I'm like, yeah, but doesn't matter because I didn't do basic addition correctly.
It's hard. You have to do it on paper with a pen. It's not. They don't give you a calculator.
In the end, none of them won, but all came away with an experience they'll never forget.
Do you feel now after this, you're part of a community?
Way more than I ever expected. Yeah.
I think it's a shared experience because we joke a lot about it being we're trauma bonded. Because ultimately, everyone loses.
Everyone who makes it to the stage is good enough to be on the stage.
It was a blast. It was. I had a great time. It was so fun. It's crazy to say that I was on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
But do I still think about it every day? And yes, I do. Yes, I do.
As for our team, the thing about pub trivia is about 40% of the points in some places are given out.
All right, folks, it is time for the music round.
And there were some songs that, well...
Oh, no.
I look around at this table and yeah, this is us, you guys.
He just said knick-knack, paddywhack, which is give the dog a bone. Would that be the name?
As a result...
And now the division between second and first was astonishing, folks. It is 1 point between second and first tonight. So coming in second with 49 points, it is 3 queens.
An ending our team was able to take in stride. After all, like they said, everyone loses eventually. And I got my 3rd place result upgraded to a 2nd. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
There's a live shot of the Georgia Viaduct. A pleasant day on the South Coast as students return to class, and the sun will be there for most of the week. Darius Madavi will have your BC-wide weather forecast right after this.
Something like that. When we bought those other ones, just brown ones as well. These are nice. I like them.
They have been haunting the clothes stores, hunting for the look. The baggy jeans, designer t-shirts, and shoes that mean business. How often do they shop?
3 times this week. Yeah. 3 times this week? Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Because you have to have it.
Because if you don't wear the name brand clothes or the right pair of shoes, then you're a geek or a nerd or something. And you're not part of the in crowd.
It's something Charlie's been warned about.
They're way too big for me.
He starts high school tomorrow. Today, he's shopping with his older sister.
I used to wear just track pants and stuff, but now it looks like I'm going to be wearing jeans and Docs all day.
Docs at more than $100 a pair. Sweatshirts at $50. These kids are spending upwards of $300. How much time do you spend in the morning thinking about what you're going to wear?
I don't think that much. I know a few people that spend an hour or so.
Really?
Yeah.
Guys?
Yeah, guys.
How much time every day do you spend dressing yourself?
About an hour, hour and a half.
And you?
About the same time, doing my hair and stuff. And
but why? Why does it take so long?
Because you have to make it perfect. You go to school, like public school, and you wear something the same time, you know, twice that same week. People know, and they let you know that they know.
For some schools and some students, this is the answer. The uniform that does just what the name implies.
Well, it does help when you don't have to choose what clothes you wear in the morning.
But that just doesn't wash with the kids who live in blue denim rather than gray flannel.
If you wear a uniform, you'll look like exactly every other kid. So if you wear different clothes, and you'll have some sort of distinction.
It could be a preoccupation that's not really necessary.
Defenders of the uniform say they don't want their students concentrating on clothes.
There are many other ways in which we try to encourage students to express themselves, and it could be by membership in bands, by good work in art or in drama, by participation in debating. And these are all constructive ways of bringing out values of quality.
But the public school kids say their preoccupation with clothes doesn't hurt their education.
Not going to just sit there and not focus on what the teacher's saying because someone beside you is wearing a nice outfit. It's just the way society is today, you know.
For all the teens, it's a matter of fitting in, of being part of a group and being accepted.
It's just a statement, I guess, you know.
Cecilia Walters, CBC News, Vancouver.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver Inbox. September is Literacy Month. Have fun and support the cause by joining CBC Vancouver's Dan Burritt at Dakota's Teen Trivia Challenge on September 27th. For tickets, register at dakota.ca. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver Inbox and keep connected with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Time for our BC-wide weather forecast with Darius Madavi as the kids and the university students get back to school or start school. What kind of weather do they get this week, Darius?
It looks like the perfect weather to gaze out your classroom window and wish it was still summer, because
adding salt to the wound, buddy.
I know, right? Because it's pretty nice, the forecast. We've got pretty seasonal temperatures sitting at 20, so just right for that transition from summer into fall. We got clear skies coming up. If we zoom out to look at the entire province, we can see that it's pretty much the same story across the province. We've got these nice seasonal temperatures along the south, below seasonal for now, but tomorrow those are going to go up to just around seasonal, so we're talking mid to high 20s down here. We get pretty nice temperatures in the north by Friday. So really we're looking pretty nice across the province with some clearing skies as we move up through. And that means that the big worry would be smoke in terms of being able to see those nice blue skies. And for us in the south, it's looking pretty nice. We don't have too much in the forecast for tomorrow. Looking ahead to Thursday, it's a similar story. Can't go too far beyond that, so I can't tell you what we're looking like on Friday. But the big concern in terms of smoke is up north, where we've got some really widespread smoke conditions, so we have to be really careful for people up here of just being mindful of staying indoors and being careful. But for those in school, we should be fine. And then in terms of precipitation, over the next 48 hours, really, this is 24 hours so far, and then we can see that this big band comes through the center part of the province. But after that, as we go into Friday, nothing else really materializes through the province because we got this high pressure ridge building up through the south and into the north of the province. Temperatures not coming up too much. We're not looking at any sort of heat wave or anything, just dry and clear skies for the end of the week. We've got this a little bit of rain that we saw there in the central parts of the province, but temperatures staying pretty nice for tomorrow. Same story here in Vancouver, pretty much just a summary of everything we talked about. We've got a bit of cloud tomorrow and then sunny skies until we see the first potential for rain by Sunday.
Okay, thanks very much, Darius.
Thank you.
And that is your late news for Tuesday. Thank you for joining us tonight. For news at any hour, check our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. It starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Have a good night.